The gunmen opened fire at the school gate before detonating a bomb at the student residence. 5 students were wounded by gunfire and 45 others now being treated for injuries they sustained while trying to escape. For more on that story, we're joined by Martin Yui in our Pretoria studios. Mr. Yui is a senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies. Good afternoon, Martin, and thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Martin, more frequent and ferocious now. To what extent is Boko Haram evolving strategically?
Well, I think a couple of days ago we were talking about the retreat of Boko Haram, and some of us had actually warned against getting any comfort of the fact that Boko Haram has been defeated. By all means, it is clear that Boko Haram is still alive and strong. So, yes, I don't think the attack on Potiskum this morning indicate any change in terms of the group tactics. What it actually does is to confirm what the group has been doing, which is to carry out suicide attacks. This individual, yes, he went into this school firing aimlessly at innocent students and succeeding in shooting about 6 of them, wounding 6 of them, and killing about 1 person, and himself, of course, because he was wearing a suicide belt. But what this again tells us is that Boko Haram is everywhere. Boko Haram is not just in the Sambisa forest that the military has been pursuing in that direction. I think the next generation or the next phase of Boko Haram is actually going to be terrorism in the street of Nigeria rather than terrorism limited or militant coming from the Sambisa forest to attack people in the cities or in the villages. What this is going to tell us is that we will actually have this militant living among Nigerians in the north and actually coming out when they wish to or when they feel safe to attack communities and target whether in the cities or in the villages.
Martin, terrorism is now a growing major security challenge for the entire continent of Africa. We had 10,000 acts being committed between 1970 and last year alone. But in the last decade or so, we saw the Peace and Security Department of the AU Commission devote only 5 substantial sessions toward terror. How crucial is it for the AU and, of course, its member states to achieve a stronger and more effective response to terrorism? Of course, the work has already started if you take into account that AU summit on terror held last September, but it was the very first of its kind to tackle terrorism on the continent.
That's true. I think the record that you have correctly stated shows that why terrorism has been increasing on the continent, why it has been causing or taking a heavy toll on our populations. The foremost, or one would say the main Pan-African organization, being the African Union, has not dedicated enough attention to the issue. At least the attention has not been commensurate with the problem that we face. And this, again, reflects that African countries are not taking the issue of terrorism seriously. They leave it mostly to those who are the front line of the attacks, particularly countries that are really heavily targeted by terrorist groups. You refer to the first ever summit of the Peace and Security Council in a 10-year history. This was really, it was a breakthrough. But the key challenge which the summit actually has revealed is the fact that we don't implement decisions. We don't follow up. If you have to look at what has happened since the summit in September, And one of the key decisions, or one of the key provisions that was the communique of the Peace and Security Council, one of the key provisions in that communique was the call on African countries to ratify international treaties, to become parties in counterterrorism instrument. How many have joined so far? Again, it has been purely neglected. So we don't follow up, we don't implement decisions, yes. And these decisions are very important in terms of actually combating the threat of terrorism that we face, and which is spreading all over the continent.
Martin, very quickly before I let you go, President Goodluck Jonathan's government earlier this year turned down President Zuma's proposal for a South African-inspired AU rapid response team to combat Boko Haram. But then apparently he turned around and hired ex-South African Defence Force soldiers to train the Nigerian military. What do you make of this, Martin?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on Nigeria-South African relations, but the reference that you referred to, the inference that you have made concerning the fact that President Goodluck Jonathan refused to accept the South African proposal to have an African Union force in Nigeria. I don't think that the refusal of Jonathan was because this proposal was made by South Africa. I think it reflected the general Nigerian policy, which was to treat Boko Haram as a national issue, purely for Nigerians to resolve. But again, pursuing this same approach, this same policy, he was able to come to South Africa, I think recognizing that there are elements in South Africa that could be useful to Nigeria, which is where he was able to employ some of the South African ex-soldiers who come to Nigeria to actually help in fighting Boko Haram.
Martin, so I think Martin, we're going to have to leave it there. We are out of time. But thank you for sharing your insight with us today on the PM News Desk. That was Martin Yui, a senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies.